Hi, Hamish Conway here, and welcome to another episode of TACOS Tuesday. This is episode 53, and with me again today is Sebastian Hargraves. Welcome, Seb.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And with the TACOS Tuesday podcast, our goal is to deliver you the best Amazon ads, advertising tactics, and strategies. And today will be no different as we cover off the key differences between Amazon USA and Amazon Australia. Now, some of you listening to this will just be in Australia, so you'll find this interesting in terms of the real key differences. Visually, we will have a look on Amazon itself, but mainly what we're going to be sharing is our aggregated data from all of our clients. We've put this together. We've got those advertising in Australia and the USA, and we'll be looking at the differences in click costs and conversion rates and return on investment, etc. So I think you're going to find this really fascinating. But before we dive into that, just a few announcements. So first of all, next Tuesday on the 2nd of September, if you're in Sydney, there is the Amazon Seller Summit. We're going to be exhibiting there, and Seb is going to be speaking, which is great. Amazon Ads asked Seb to speak. So we've got all that ready and signed off by legal, just about. Actually, by the time this comes out, it will be. And so that's cool. So if you're there, make sure you come along to the session with Seb. He's going to share some absolute nuggets there in the 25 minutes that we've got. The second thing is we are actually hiring for an advertising director. So this will be someone who understands Amazon ads. You might already be working in an agency, or you've had some experience with that and you might now be brand side. If you are interested in finding out more about that, then you can email hello@gosellglobal.com or actually Sebastian@gosellglobal.com as well. And then lucky last is the Amazon vendor events that we're running in Sydney on the 17th of September, which is a Wednesday night, and the Thursday, the 18th in Melbourne. So keep an eye out for some emails around that, or go to the website on our homepage, gosellglobal.com. You can register there. All right, on with the show. So Seb, just as I bring up these results here, for you've been advertising for brands on Amazon and the USA for a while. What do you notice as the key differences? Actually, yeah, even before I'm gonna stop sharing actually, because I think I just want you to talk to some of the key differences first, and then we'll come back and look at some specific numbers.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, the obvious differences between them is the volume and competition between them. So that's kind of indicated by the amount of units and the amount of volume that goes through the US marketplace. But it's also indicated from a competition side that the high cost per clicks that are in that marketplace.
Yeah, and there's just a whole different level of demand, right? In the US, you got 50% of all online sales happen on Amazon. They're absolutely established. So that's where there's so much search volume, so much demand on that platform there. Whereas in Australia, it's still relatively immature. And yes, there's some categories where there's more demand, and that might be in grocery or in health supplements, for example. Maybe beauty to a degree, but there's still some pockets there where there's hardly any people advertising in any meaningful way. Or the other key thing is in Australia, people are still getting their head around it. They don't really have a proper advertising strategy, and because they can get away with it. And we'll share with you some of the numbers, which you may have had a glimpse of before. But people can get away with it, or they're just not even advertising as much as they could or should. Whereas in the USA, you have to be right on your game. Otherwise, you can burn cash really quickly, and the volumes are very different. You've got in America, brands are spending millions of dollars a month, versus in Australia, maximum $100,000 a month. And that would be kind of peak period. But even just average brands spending $100,000 a month on Amazon, because it's such a critical part of their marketing mix. They might not be making as much profit on it there, but they know it helps their overall marketing mix and what they're doing as part of their overall marketing funnel. Some other key differences the data we're going to show today kind of really highlights that there's not a lot going on in Australia with DSP or demand side platform. There's kind of really limited brands that are able to do that. Just because to get meaningful impact or cut through from that at the top of the funnel, you need to be investing $10,000 a month. But for many brands, they're still not spending enough on their sponsored products. So that's where the money goes, because you're getting a much bigger return, but still getting away with it. Whereas in the States, because the demand is so big, even $10,000 a month DSP probably even doesn't go very far, but brands are spending so much, this is part of their mix. So that's kind of a couple of the key differences that I'd note. Any comments on those points?
No, I mean, other than, like DSP is a different type of thing, and there's brands that they've got to a point where they call it CPC jail, where it's like if you only focus on search and only on bottom of funnel, eventually you hit a point where you are just at the mercy of whatever's happening from the CPC market. So if big players come in and competitors come in, your CPCs will rise, and that will hurt your overall business. And the way that you hedge your bets against things like that is having those touch points off of Amazon, so that when the customer gets to Amazon, they've already got some education around what your brand is and what it does. And that's how you get yourself out of CPC jail long term. But it is a long-term play.
And certainly in America, there is a lot more people driving traffic from socials to the platform. In Australia, a lot less of that happening at the moment as well. So, and even the other thing is, talk to some categories being really a low demand still, is that we could say, hey, look, have a budget of $5,000, $10,000 a month, and they might even have to spend that. But in America, you would absolutely spend it. so it's there's still that demand growing, which we've talked about a lot with Amazon Australia. It is coming. All right, now let's have a look at some of these stats. So just to frame exactly what you are looking at, this is worthwhile having a look at the YouTube version, or if you go to the website, we'll actually put this up as a download. So the source of this here, this is our Sell Global internal system, and all client profile aggregated advertising data year to date to mid-August 2025. And we've put all these into Australian dollars. So while we've got US here, this is actually being converted to Australian dollars. Okay. And it's just sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display. And hopefully that all makes sense. So, and then the bottom part here, this is all kind of getting ready for the presentation, that this has been prepared by us, not by Amazon. And Amazon does not endorse this content or any service provider. That's all part of the deal. Anyway, so let's talk to the first column here, ad cost per click.
Yep. So this one, for anyone that doesn't know what CPC is, it stands for cost per click, and it is your ad spend divided by your clicks, and it gives us an indication on how much is it costing us to get those clicks and that traffic into the listing. So the first thing you'll note there is just that in Australia, it's at 92 cents. In the USA, it's at $2.21. So that's a big percentage increase from AU to US. And that's a clear indicator to us around competition and the demand. Remembering that Amazon Ads is a second place auction.
Yeah.
So CPC is a very good indicator of how hot the auction is.
So that's like 150% approximately higher cost per click.
Yep.
So that's the first, obvious aspect there. And then we move on to conversion rate from advertising. And so what do you notice there?
Yeah, so with the conversion rate, some things to note with the data we're presenting to you here is we do have some bigger brands in the AU marketplace, so the conversion rate is quite strong. The conversion rate is strong in AU compared to the US. I don't think that would be universally true. I think the conversion rate is very strong in the US. I think they're very equal in regards to their conversion rates. The difference being there that like what you're willing to pay for that higher conversion rate versus lower conversion rate is kind of the key part there.
Right. So for those people listening, in Australia with our client data, the ad conversion rate is 20%. So for every 100 clicks, 20 of them are converting. In the US, it is 12.8%. So it's really more like one in eight is converting versus 1 in 5 for Australia. And some of those points there that Seb was talking to. But what's also interesting is when you look at the total conversion rate, that the advertising conversion rate in Australia is 20%. The total conversion rate is 8%. So, and then the US, 12.8% for ad conversion rate, total conversion rate, 8.7%. So there's some interesting factors there. Do you want to talk to that, Seb?
Yeah, I think some of this has got to do with some of the catalog sizes that we deal with. We've got really, really big catalog sizes. So just for those who want to know what this is, it's total sessions divided by the
Total orders.
Total orders. So we're looking at that. So basically, the difference between the two conversion rate, one is looking at just ads. The total conversion rate is putting ads and organic together into the same buckets. Yeah, so some interesting things there in regards to the total conversion rates, and it does a lot of things here come into play, like the average order value. If you've got a higher price product, that's going to play a part in these conversion rates.
But why are ad conversion rates higher than normal than the overall conversion rate? Why do you think that is?
So ad conversion rates are always higher because of their placements on the page. So generally, just because you get top of search. So top of search, you're just going to get a lot more visibility, and we know that top of search has a higher conversion rate.
Right. Yeah. So that's the key. And if you look back on one of our other episodes where we looked at ad placement and percentages there, that would explain a bit of that. Okay. So then, given the lower cost per click, a natural flow on from that and better conversion rate is the advertising ROAS, or return on ad spend. In Australia is 7.5, and in the USA is 3.2. So Seb, what do you make of that, or what else would you add to that?
Yeah, just that there's more value to be found in AU, and we kind of touched on this at the beginning, that there's certain categories and niches where there's very low competition. There's no one advertising. There's a lot of opportunity to take that advertising space, and that's reflective in the ROAS and the CPC there as well. So that's kind of the main kind of key takeaway.
Yeah, so yeah, it's more than double. And look, some people might be looking at ROAS of 7.5, and is that good or not? Like, that is actually pretty good. You're absolutely going to have individual campaigns that could be really high. You have individual campaigns that can be, I don't know, Seb, what would be as high as, you might have seen 50 or 20 or 40 or whatever, but this is the overall picture, which is a better number to be working off rather than looking at your best ever.
Yeah, you could be looking at branded and things like that, and that's going to show like 20 ROAS. But this is an aggregated view. We've got big brands in here, and we've got little brands in here. So we've got a good spread and mix of different types. And it does vary greatly on where you're at. So it's not just about, obviously, the market that you're in. It's also the makeup of like the brands. And if a product's in a launch phase, it's going to have a much lower ROAS than your more established products as well.
Yeah, 100%. So, and to that point, like, you've got branded search, which you'll remember is where there is a known brand, and that generally converts really high. And then you've got category search, which is just the broad search terms for the product that people are searching for. So when I look at this here, I mean, ACOS is the inverse of ROAS. Australia is a huge opportunity, and it's not just for on the platform. That's the clear attributable, if that's the word, ROAS, but there's also the halo effect of how this is supporting your other channels online and even in store. So this is what in America the brands absolutely get. They spend massive money on Amazon, particularly those products that are recurring in nature, whether it's in the grocery category, on the health category, or the pet category. They will spend some serious cash because they know that getting that return customer is worth so much to them in that lifetime value. And so people are really sophisticated on that. Look, Australia is only going to get harder and more competitive. So the click cost is going to go up. The conversion rates will come maybe down a little bit there. The return on ad spend will start to come down. So now is the time. It's never going to be better than now to actually be really investing and piling in and building up your organic search. So this is, the thing that frustrates me the most is people still don't see this opportunity or don't appreciate the percentage-wise of where consumer eyeballs are, and there's increasingly on Amazon, and there's a huge opportunity here that brands should be taking a closer look at in Australia and or allocating more ad spend to it. And that's the other thing. I know some companies, they have, like, at the start of the year, they go, right, this is the budget and that's all we can spend. Whereas, and that means they're just leaving money on the table. And it's like, sometimes I want to go to the financial controller, like, do you want to make more sales? And they'll go, of course. Well, this is how you do it. And there's this real mismatch. And I guess because I've been in small, medium business myself for a long time, and if something works, you go, hell yeah, let's double down on this. Whereas some bigger companies will just go, no, that's the budget, that's all we got. and and that kind of works with big companies how they are. But man, they leave money on the table. So if you are a bit more nimble, then you can really get after it. And obviously, to scale it profitably, you've got to have the right structure, and that's a lot of what we can help you with. But this is like, for every dollar you're putting in here, you are getting a really good return. This is profitable returns at 7.5 ROAS. So then the other thing here that's interesting as well is the ad sales percentage of total. So talk to me about that. For Australia, it's 26.6, and in the USA, it's 34.4. So why do we think there's a big gap there?
Yeah, and just for some context here, we have brands in the US that are as high as 65%, and as low as, what are some of the numbers there? We've got some brands that are as low as 20%.
Right.
There. And then for the AU, we have brands as high as the same, kind of similar, 60%, and we've got brands as low as 12%. From there. So it does vary greatly depending on what stages what stage the business is in. And so you're going to have higher percentages for non-known brands where you don't have as much brand equity. You're going to have a higher percentage for product launches on different products that you're launching that are new, because you just don't have the review and the social proof and the conversion rate and all that kind of stuff. So you need to build that up. You're going to have higher percentages on more competitive categories. So if you're selling into supplements, or like Hamish mentioned before, around lifetime value type niches, which are generally repeat purchase type niches, they're generally more competitive because people see the value in those, the repeat nature and the lifetime value, or at least the smart ones do, and they are willing to pay for that. So there's some caveats to that, but obviously it fluctuates. This is pretty low, I will say, 29%, like 26% for AU and 34% for US. There's some pretty healthy numbers. I think most advertisers look at that and go, wow, I wish I could get that on my my account. But that's an indication of some of the more established sort of brands. But the main point here is that it's less in the AU. So kind of similar to the theme that we've been going here, it doesn't take as much to build your organic rank with advertising as the other marketplaces like the US.
Yeah. And again, because that, like, a key purpose of advertising is to build your organic rank on the most relevant search terms. And so in Australia, that's an easier task than it is in the USA. So, and then the same with TACOS there, we've got, which is total advertising cost over sales. So what ad spend as a percentage of your total sales. In Australia, that's 3.5%, and the USA, 10.8%. So any comments on those, Seb?
Similar theme there. As you build your organic rank, your total advertising cost of sale becomes less because you're not as reliant on your ads. So, the TACOS and the ad sales kind of go hand in hand. The ad sales as a percentage of the total, because you're just relying less and you're building that organic.
So that's good. And look, and give some context here, which I maybe should have done at the start. Like, this is where brands are investing we're managing $500,000 a month in ad spend here. So that's that. So this is statistically relevant data for these for the stats that you see here. All right, so we're just going to shift gears a little bit and just show you what it looks like on Amazon USA, and just a quick look. And obviously, for those watching, for those listening, this might be a little bit more of a homework for you to go and have a look at what we're going to share. Okay, so this is Australia. We've put in magnesium supplements. Okay, so this is the ad real estate that you can see, and notice how this lays out. So this is a sponsored brand headline ad. Magsorb, actually a client. And if you come to the Amazon Seller Summit event in Sydney, you could even get yourself one of these products here for free, even. So you've got the top of the search sponsored products here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that. Then we go to a row of organic. Then we're into the sponsored brand video. Then we have organic row, another organic row. Then we've got middle of the search, and then organic, 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 organic row, and then a bottom of the search, and then there's another sponsored brand at the bottom. So quite a lot of organic there, particularly when we then go to .com. So you've got
just quickly, Hamish, just show them what you mean by, because I don't think that if someone's following it along, they'll know what you're talking about between sponsored and organic. So maybe just show them the little sponsored tag.
Okay, yeah. So you got this sponsored here. So anytime you see sponsored, that is advertising placement versus over here, that is organic where there is no sponsored on it. Okay, hopefully that helps. Then, so we're looking at the USA now. And so we got the sponsored brand headline. And then the top row here, we've got 5 sponsored ads. The whole top row is paid. Then you've got 1 row of organic. And then you move into something a little bit different here. You've got need help asking Rufus. So obviously this is a Amazon shopping agent. So you've got into questions, and you've got recently bought and rated. You've got sponsored. You've got another 5 ad placements. Okay, so far it's 2/3 of it is sponsored, and then you roll down, you got the sponsored brand video. Then the next row is also sponsored. And then you've got 1 row of organic, and then there's more sponsored. Then you've got another row of organic. If you've made it this far, then organic, 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 and then organic, and then at the bottom there you got bottom of the search. They're more grouped with what's called picks from influencer, from Amazon influencers. So there's a few opportunities that are in the US, like this Amazon influencer side of things, that aren't in Australia. But the way they've done it in the States is they at the top, which is where people buy, it's mostly advertising. Go and have a look at it, like just even for your type of product, and just see the difference. Something that's not too dissimilar is the product pages. So this is Australia. You've still got the sponsored placement up the top, which is either sponsored display or a DSP. Then you've got sponsored display, then your product placements related to that item. So that's not too dissimilar as to what you'd notice in the USA for those placements. So that's just an interesting observation. But man, on that homepage in the US, they are all over it. All over it. Any comments, Seb?
I think the thing to note is they'll keep expanding the advertising. They have to keep creating real estate to make more opportunity for people to advertise affordably. They don't want their CPCs to continue to rise. So that's why there's more slots available over there, and will continue to be more.
Yeah, it's pay to play in the US is a term that you could use. And look, Australia will head that way. I mean, Australia's still growing in terms of getting more brands and products into the catalog. That's one way of increasing real estate. But I think we'll notice in this next 12 months that there will be more ad placements on the page. So just be aware of that. And so, Seb, any comments in terms of, as you are thinking about placements or bids between Australia and the US, what kind of different mindset do you bring from an ads management point of view?
I mean, it's not all bad news, right?
No.
So more placements mean more real estate for new products, right? Like if you're not established, like some of these ones that have got on early, because we've been saying that for a long time, get in early because the early bird gets the worm. And a lot of these ones that are on the AU market that are established players, obviously they're brand names, but also they've decided to get in early. And so they've established that. So that the added real estate and advertising allows you to unseat them in some ways a little bit. It gives you an opportunity to do that, right?
So when you're focusing on a brand who's in the US and thinking about how you are managing their ads versus one in Australia, what are the key differences there?
Yeah, I think it's all the things we've talked about. It's knowing that you're in a more competitive market. So objective setting, which we've touched on in the past, is even more important, because otherwise what will happen is if you don't objective set in Australia, things will go bad. It won't be that bad. If you don't objective set in the US, things will go bad, and it will be bad. So being very clear on what you're trying to do, what your competitive edge is, it's very likely that in the US, you're not going to compete on those top end keywords, the big high volume generating keywords. You're probably going to be looking at the level down, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a really big brand that wants to bite off something like that. You're kind of probably looking at the how do I compete, not on magnesium, for example, but magnesium that has a magnesium ashwagandha, for example, like a bit more of a specific use case where the intent is higher and you have an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, even to give a bit of an indication, that there's another key aspect is in America, in the USA, you really need to have your product listings 100% on point to win, and to increase that can give yourself the best chance of increasing your conversion rate. In Australia, you can still get away with it a bit, And
in some categories, yeah.
Yeah, like the Swiss here, this is not a great product listing here. And I don't even know if they have A+. Yeah, they got some A+ here. Yeah, it's not too bad. But, you look in Nature's Bounty, like it is better. Like this is a better listing.
Strong messaging.
Strong messaging. Notice there's 70,000. And then their A+ premium is, pretty sharp as well. So you've just got to really be on your game. The other kind of fact here, where was it? I was looking at one before 70K. Yeah, this one here, pure 100,000 plus bought in the past month. Like some pretty serious numbers, or 70K, like the market is huge. And when you look in Australia, the number one magnesium, Magsorb, they do 4,000. So that's, that is, it's 25x from the top seller in Australia versus the USA. So kind of gives you a sense of the scale. So that's some of the differences there between Australia and the USA. And I hope you found that interesting. And again, one of the key messages there is if you are in Australia, really make the most of it. If you're in the US and you want to be selling into Australia, you're probably licking your lips going, oh my God, let's get amongst it. Even though, yes, the volumes are smaller, but actually, if you've got that experience, you can go in there and compete. It might be like taking candy from a baby in some cases, but that is the opportunity that is there. So anything else from you, Seb, just in wrapping up?
No, I think we help brands in both. If you need help, obviously going into the US requires a lot more research and whatnot. So, but yeah, we help brands going that way. We also help brands coming into AU and getting that part done as well.
Yeah, excellent. And look, as always, there is the advertising audit that you can get Seb to do. So reach out, look at gosellglobal.com and look at services management for Amazon ads, and then you can book a call with Seb there. So do that. And also remember, Amazon Sellers Summit in a week in Sydney. If you are interested in the advertising director role or know someone who would be good, email Sebastian at gosellglobal.com. And we've got the vendor events, so keep an eye out for that as well. So thanks very much, folks, for tuning in for another TACOS Tuesday episode, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. All the best.